He was a counterculture icon, a self-proclaimed guru of peace and love, a man who claimed to have founded Earth Day. But behind his charismatic persona lurked a chilling secret. When his ex-girlfriend, Holly Maddux, vanished in 1977, no one suspected him. But 2 years later, police made a horrifying discovery, one that exposed the dark truth behind Ira Einhorn's carefully crafted image. How did a man once celebrated as a visionary turn into an international fugitive? And how did justice finally catch up with him after more than 2 decades on the run? This is the shocking true story of Ira Einhorn, the unicorn killer. Stay with us until the end, because this case is stranger than fiction. Before we dive in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our deep dives into the world's most unbelievable true crime cases. In the 1960s and 1970s, Ira Einhorn was a rising star in Philadelphia's counterculture movement. Charismatic, flamboyant, and eloquent, he preached peace, love, and environmental awareness, captivating audiences ranging from anti-war activists to corporate executives. With his piercing blue eyes and thick beard, he looked like the perfect embodiment of the age of Aquarius. But beneath his enlightened persona lurked a darkness no one could have imagined. In 1977, his girlfriend, Holly Maddux, vanished without a trace. When questioned, Einhorn casually claimed she had gone out and never returned. The world might have moved on, if not for the putrid smell seeping from his apartment. When police finally searched his home in 1979, they discovered a gruesome secret: Holly's decomposed body, stuffed inside a wooden trunk in his closet. Thus began one of the most shocking murder cases of the 20th century, a case that would lead to a decades-long international manhunt and expose the sinister truth about a man who had once been revered as a visionary. Ira Samuel Einhorn was born on May 15, 1940 in Philadelphia, into a middle-class Jewish family. Highly intelligent and ambitious, he graduated from the University of Pennsylvania in 1961 with a degree in English. But instead of pursuing a conventional career, Einhorn immersed himself in the world of counterculture. Philadelphia knew him as the guru of the New Age, a man who seamlessly blended intellectualism with progressive ideals. He was an outspoken critic of the Vietnam War, an advocate for LSD as a path to enlightenment, and one of the city's most vocal environmentalists. But his true colors began to show on April 22, 1970, during the first ever Earth Day. Though he had little to do with organizing the event, Einhorn seized the microphone and spoke for 30 minutes straight, refusing to let others take the stage. Later, he falsely claimed to have been a founder of Earth Day, even though that honor belonged to Senator Gaylord Nelson. To some, he was a genius. To others, he was an opportunist with a dangerous ego. In 1972, Einhorn met Holly Maddux, a bright and beautiful young woman from Texas. A Bryn Mawr College graduate, Holly was independent, free-spirited, and drawn to Einhorn's charismatic energy. Their relationship was passionate, but also deeply toxic. Holly's family never trusted Einhorn. They saw him as controlling, manipulative, and increasingly unstable. By 1977, after 5 tumultuous years together, Holly finally ended things and moved to New York. But Einhorn refused to let her go. He demanded that she return to Philadelphia to collect her belongings, threatening to throw everything into the street if she didn't come back. Holly reluctantly returned, and then she vanished. When asked about her whereabouts, Einhorn remained disturbingly calm, telling friends and family, "She went out to buy tofu and sprouts and never came back." For over a year and a half, Holly's family searched desperately for answers. Meanwhile, Einhorn carried on with his life as if nothing had happened. He continued giving lectures and even spent a semester at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government in 1978. But the walls of his deception began to crumble when a foul stench started emanating from his apartment. Neighbors complained about the unbearable odor and the dark liquid dripping into the apartment below. Finally, in March 1979, police obtained a search warrant. Inside Einhorn's closet, they found a large wooden trunk. When they pried it open, they discovered the mummified remains of Holly Maddux. Her skull had been shattered in 6 places by a blunt object. Einhorn was immediately arrested and charged with murder, but he had powerful connections. His lawyer, Arlen Specter, a former district attorney who would later become a U.S. senator, managed to get his bail reduced to just $40,000. Einhorn only had to pay $4,000 to walk free. That money was provided by a wealthy Canadian socialite who, like many others, still believed in his innocence. Then in 1981, just before his trial, Einhorn vanished. For the next 2 decades, he lived as an international fugitive, slipping from Sweden to Ireland, then to England, before settling in France. Under a new identity, he married Annika Floden, a wealthy Swedish heiress who knew nothing of his past. Meanwhile, back in Philadelphia, Holly's family never stopped fighting for justice. In 1993, the city decided to put Einhorn on trial in absentia, an unusual legal move. A jury found him guilty of murder and sentenced him to life in prison without parole. But the verdict was meaningless as long as Einhorn remained in hiding. The hunt for Einhorn intensified. In 1997, investigators tracked him down in a farmhouse in Champagne-Mouton, France. However, extraditing him was not so simple. French law prohibited extradition if a defendant had not been guaranteed a retrial. For 4 years, Einhorn fought extradition, portraying himself as a victim of political persecution. He even claimed that the CIA had framed him, saying they had murdered Holly and planted her body in his apartment because he knew too much about military research into the paranormal. Despite his outrageous claims in 2001, after intense diplomatic negotiations, France finally agreed to extradite him. Einhorn was returned to Philadelphia, where he stood trial once again. This time there was no escape. A jury swiftly convicted him, and he was once again sentenced to life in prison without parole. For nearly 2 decades, Einhorn wasted away in State Correctional Institution Laurel Highlands, a maximum security prison in Pennsylvania. On April 3, 2020, at age 79, he died from heart complications. His death closed the final chapter in a saga that had haunted Philadelphia for over 40 years. For some, he had once been a visionary, a thinker, a leader. But in the end, Ira Einhorn was not a prophet of peace. He was a fraud, a manipulator, and a brutal murderer, one whose name will forever be remembered as the Unicorn Killer. What do you think of this case? Was justice truly served, or did Einhorn escape consequences for far too long? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more shocking true crime stories. Your support helps us bring these stories to light. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update.